Is it safe to assume that the film is based on true events?
No particular true event. I mean, things that happen on a daily occurrence, but no particular incident. No.
I did watch a couple of your other interviews that you have done about Santosh, and I know the reason why you decided to not make it a documentary as opposed to a fictionalized film, I guess. But why did you choose to show the film from a police or a constable's POV?
It was the idea of me trying to find a way as a documentary maker to talk about violence against women and finding it very difficult to speak openly and honestly about that and to have the access needed. And then seeing in 2012, after the horrible case in Delhi on the bus, of seeing a police officer in the crowd with female protesters and thinking that actually she's a very interesting example of looking at violence because she can also meet it out but experiences it as a woman. So what is her perspective on all of this and where is that conflict? I thought that was quite interesting. That's why it became a police film.
So obviously a lot of research goes into something like this because it is a very hardcore, heavy subject. What was the most surprising thing that you learned about yourself during the research of the film?
Well, about myself, I actually don't know. Because I come from documentary, we're used to spending a lot of time researching in strange places. I spent 6 months, in a brothel in Delhi before. So I've kind of, life is always interesting and you try to put those details in the film. But about myself, I don't know, that I've got some stamina and I'm ready to take some risks when I do my research and do my stuff.
Stamina to run around and do a little bit more digging in.
Yes, always digging, ready for, always curious about life. So that hasn't diminished with age. Maybe that's a surprise.
That's a good surprise to have.
Yeah, it's a good surprise.
Definitely. But then are you able to move emotions or remove emotions out of a film like this when you're actually directing it? Is that like a difficult challenge to meet when you have to remove emotions and just focus on directing the film as a product that you have to put out?
What emotions do you mean?
Okay, so something personal. I actually didn't live in India before 2012, and then the 2012 incident happened, and that's around the time when I actually decided, okay, I need to move to India. Not because of the incident, it was just life was moving that way. And because the incident that we are talking about was so intense, it was so emotional, I kind of second-guessed my own move and I couldn't take the emotions out of it for a very long time. And I lived in Delhi for about 10 years. So I'm just thinking, as a filmmaker, when you research something that is so emotionally sensitive, how do you manage to stay true to the art without getting emotional?
I mean, my research was more based around police work, so there was that. But, having spent a lot of time in NGOs, etc., you're always there as a storyteller and as a witness as well. Especially coming from documentary, there is a sense of witnessing and the importance of witnessing, like journalism. So that's always my mindset coming into fiction about it's important what the story is here and what we're trying to say. So there's a sort of a clarity of vision because you're very focused on the end game always. That's what the director's thing is, taking care of everybody, taking care of your crew, taking everybody involved, but everybody's focused on the end game and what that says and does.
So unfortunately I haven't been able to watch the film yet, and I'm really looking forward to watching it sometime. But the one thing that sort of stuck out in the trailer, and that's my process, if I haven't watched a film I'll just keep watching the trailer, absorb it and get curious about it. One thing that stuck out was the layers of feminism, especially I think the Inspector Sharma's character. My question to you is, how do you intentionally sort of make sure that it doesn't get too stereotypical, even the layers of feminism?
One marker of the way I make films is that subtlety is very, very important to me, and it's in everything that I do. Like, I probably usually have to go the other way in making sure that things are clear because I'm always... even with documentary, I've never really made any sort of campaigning films. I always like to leave space for the audience. I don't like to make films to teach anybody anything. In documentary and in real life, everything is grey, everything is complex. Female relationships are complex, and that's what that relationship is really about. It's not just sisters together against the patriarchy. It's about, the layers of that and the shades of what that can be.
So you mentioned something good, that you don't want your films to sort of be educational. That's not your purpose. But I guess a film like this, there is sort of like a moral ground that you have to play, right? Because it is very sensitive. What is your vision for the audience, and what is your takeaway for the audience after they watch a film?
I mean, I don't tend to focus too much on the takeaway for the audience because that's not my role. What I like to do as a filmmaker is just leave space for the audience so that they can interact with it properly, that there are many questions asked in the film, and that Shahan actually said something interesting, which was that she feels that the film is sort of, for Indian society anyway, sort of holds a mirror up to ask the viewer where they sit on these things, which aren't themes in the film, they aren't issue after issue in the film. It's just about a type of place where these things exist very casually in society. So it's about people watching and then thinking about where they sit in all of that as well, and how easily these things can just exist, these prejudices.
I know you did say that you don't want to focus on the takeaway, but do you think the takeaway for an Indian audience would be different than an outside audience on something like this?
You know what? When the film gets distributed in India and when we have it distributed here, I will understand very well what those two takeaways are.